that all the wealth has been sucked to the top by the Fed, by the interest, by all of this, and by them owning the government. We have the best Congress money can buy, and we've always got a president, ever since Kennedy, we've got a president handpicked by the Trilateral Commission. Kennedy was the last president, indeed the last nominee of either major party, to have not been a member of the Trilateral Commission and handpicked by them. And of course we know what happened to Kennedy.
Right.
And
is that because he wasn't being controlled? I mean, he wouldn't let himself be controlled? He
wouldn't let himself be controlled. And another watershed, of course, was Kennedy's assassination, because if that hadn't happened, just as with 9/11, the Vietnam War would have ended.
Yes.
Kennedy had already ordered that. Kennedy was trying to make peace with the Soviet Union. He solved the Cuban Missile Crisis. He and Khrushchev. He and Nikita Khrushchev had been exchanging letters and envoys and everything, working together to solve the Cold War and to end it. Cuban Missile Crisis came up, and of course Kurt LeMay and the other generals and whatnot wanted to bomb Cuba, and Kennedy said no. And instead he redoubled his efforts with Khrushchev. Khrushchev recognized the situation that Kennedy was in, because Khrushchev had his own hardliners that he had to deal with. And so Khrushchev stopped his warships and said, I'm going to take my missiles out. That ended the Cuban Missile Crisis. But we have later learned, after the fact, years after the fact, when Kremlin documents were revealed and declassified, that the Soviets had, I think it's 162 missiles in Cuba, and they were armed and ready to fire. And if we had started attacking with a first strike on Cuba, they would have launched on warning, and all hell would have broken loose, and probably the world would have been destroyed. I often ask people, you want something scary? What would have happened if George W. Bush had been president at the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis?
Shudder, shudder.
We wouldn't be here now.
There's some miracles and everything.
So, you know, we need to have the truth. We need to have our history straightened out. We need to expose the truth of JFK's assassination by elements within the CIA and the FBI and the Pentagon and the Secret Service. We need to expose the truth of 9/11 by whoever it was. I don't know whether it was Americans or Israelis or Saudis or Pakistanis or some combination.
Yeah.
But whoever it was needs to be exposed, because by God, I know doggone well that 19 Arabs with hijackers and an old man on a cave on a dialysis machine couldn't have pulled that off.
And we know for certainty that it's the U.S. government that's been involved with the cover-up.
Yes, the cover-up, we have the evidence, we can stick them with that. Yeah. And I think that ought to be where we start. We start by your misprision of treason, by saying the Bush administration committed treason by exploiting the 9/11 tragedy. However you believe it happened, they exploited it to lie the Congress and the American people into an unnecessary war of aggression against Afghanistan and then against Iraq. Secondly, after you do that, then you start prosecutions for the cover-up.
Right.
And once you're going through that, then you'll get more facts come to light, which will lead then to a real investigation of 9/11 itself and whoever actually pulled it off. But there's a lot else we can do first. We don't need to wait for an investigation of 9/11. We can indict them now for exploiting 9/11,
yes,
and then indict them for covering it up, and finally we'll get them for doing it.
Let's hope. Any last thoughts, Tom?
Well, I guess, I think, Bob, you said you brought some other DVDs with you, or some other short film clips?
Yeah.
Maybe after this is over, we could show them too.
That'd be great.
Well,
we'll be making copies, and we'll be making sure that the community TV centers can air these things, and people can understand what we're talking about from many different levels, because we're talking about one issue, but it's connected to many issues. And it's a pleasure being with you. Somebody from the inside that has come forth in integrity. You're a gift to our world. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Keep up your good work.
And you, likewise, you're an inspiration.
Great being with you again.
As always.
I see an America in which every family can be supported by one wage earner with one job paying a living wage. It's an America in which health care is provided to all as a right through a single-payer national health program. By the way, as a conservative, I believe that the only fiscally responsible way to provide health care is to eliminate the profit, the overhead, the red tape, and the interference between doctor and patient of the insurance companies by kicking them out of health care altogether. I see an America that seeks not to be king of the hill, nor subservient to the World Trade Organization, but to be a responsible, sovereign member of the family of nations. Nothing more and nothing less. An America that is free of the threat of terrorism because it is no longer feared and hated, because it no longer does hateful things to people around the world. It's an America that leads the world, not just with military might, but with its vision, its compassion, its democracy, its productivity, its freedom, its standard of living, its care for the global environment, its treatment of its own people, and its goodness. Above all, it's an America at peace with the world and with its own people. That's the kind of America I have seen, the America our people deserve, and the America you can build. I can't do it alone. Each of you must do your part. Spread the word. Keep the vision alive. Drop your own pebbles in the pond and make some waves. Run for office. Never settle for anything less than a government that follows the Constitution, honors the truth, and serves the people. Now, it matters not if my presidency is real or fanciful. My part is done. It is finished. The rest is in your hands. The future and the vision and the dream itself depend on you. Free at last of the unwarranted influence of the military-industrial complex Eisenhower warned us of. Free at last of the gross disparities in living standards which have plagued recent decades. Free at last of the ravages of unbridled militarism and false flag attacks. Free at last of the creeping fascism of corporate-controlled government. Free at last, we can go forward into a bright new day of democracy, prosperity, security, freedom, and peace. We the people can win. We the people must win. We the people will win. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful.